All right. So again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone from all parts of the world. So we have students connecting from everywhere. That's really nice. And welcome to the fourth day of our training session being organized by Women in Astronomy Working Group of the IAU. And for the fourth day, we are having a session on TopCat, introduction to TopCat and its application to select science cases. And today's coordinator is Professor Priya Hassan. We already had the first training program from her, and she is going to take over from here. So Priya, please.
Thanks a lot, Mamta, and welcome everyone. Nice to see you all. And we'll start with our session today. So today, what we are going to do for the next 2 days, that's today and tomorrow, is we are going to talk about TopCat. Okay, and let me just share my screen. I hope all of you all can see it. Yeah, all fine, all good. Can everyone see my screen well? Mamta, all good?
Yes, it is perfectly fine. Yes, we can see.
Okay, fine. So, hello everyone, and today we are going to talk about TopCat. Okay, and what's fun? The fun part about this is that the logo used for TopCat is exactly the TopCat which some of you all may be familiar with, that cartoon character. And this is a software which is basically, it basically analyzes tables, okay, with tabular data, and it's almost a one-man show. So here you have Mark Taylor, who's the person who's actually written the code for TopCat, and that's Mark Taylor. He's at University of Bristol in the UK, and this is basically the code has been written by him, and it's almost like I said, it's a one-man show where he's been doing all the code and all the material, and a lot of the stuff which I'm going to be using today, slides as well as material, is a lot of the material which I've taken directly from him with his kind permission. So I'd like to state that in the very beginning, that thanks, Mark, for sharing your material. Like Mamta mentioned, this is part of our training programs for the women in astronomy, where the basic aim of this is that if we equip women and people with the essential skills required for astronomy, they can actually move ahead their way forward, right? So there is something called the virtual observatory, okay, which is something which you should be aware of, that since you know that we have so much of astronomy data available on the internet. This is available from various ground-based telescopes as well as space-based telescopes. There's a lot of data already available in astronomy, and all this data is very useful data, even if it is old data, because, for example, if you have transient sources or various other factors, you would actually, it would be very helpful to use older data. So all data is valuable, even if it is old data, even if it's from a smaller telescope. All this kind of data is very important and very valuable to all of us. And therefore, okay. So, and therefore what happens is that the virtual observatory is basically an attempt to collate all this data and keep it available through different servers, through different sources on the internet, so that it can be used by people, right? And so one of the so there are various things being done by the virtual observatory. We'll talk about it again in the next training program. But TopCat is one of the attempts of virtual observatory. So it's part of the virtual observatory. And like I mentioned, it is the tool for operations on catalogs and tables. So it does what you want with tables, right? Now, many of you all may be familiar with Excel, but obviously I would not like a comparison of Excel with TopCat, because TopCat is a totally different game. You'll see that now. And but it is kind of similar to that, in the sense it handles tables like you handle spreadsheets in Excel, but it gives you a lot more flexibility with what you can do with the tables, how you can visualize the data, how you can analyze it, and do various things, operations with that data. And that's what we're going to talk about today, which are basically this tool, which is TopCat, right? And now, what is astronomical data? Astronomical data can be essentially, I've put 4 types of data. Essentially, it is images, right, which you get from various telescopes, etc. There could be also spectra, again, which is data which is got from telescopes. And then you have the two other kind of data, which I've called are catalogs and time series. Now, these are derived data from images or spectra, right? So, for example, from an image, you can actually build a catalog of sources in that image, right? And this catalog would be now in the form of a table, right? Images are of a different kind, they are of a different format. We'll talk about it next time, but we spoke about it a little bit in when we did the training program one, when we did AstroPi and we spoke about FITS format. But essentially, from an image, you can actually build up a catalog. And a catalog has the set of the, for example, the number of sources in an image, right? So it gives its coordinates, it gives its brightness, error in brightness, some more parameters, etc. So that's a catalog. The other kind of data which you can derive from images as well as spectra is what is called time series data. That means, for example, if you have a source whose brightness is varying with time, right? Then in that case, you can actually get data in the form of what is called a time series. And it is actually very well known that a very large number of sources in astronomy, rather most sources, do vary with time, right? And instead, that is the new kind of astronomy which people are doing now, which is basically the study of transient sources, looking for variations in the brightness of sources, because there's a lot of information sitting in that in the bit about why is there a variation in the brightness of a source. Now, why do we use TopCat? TopCat is basically lets you explore data. So let's say you have data. This excludes images and spectra. It basically involves data like, for example, catalogs or time series data, right? So catalogs or tabular data. So tabular data, which is time series or catalog data, it will let you do some kind of an interactive exploration of that data. You can explore the data. You can get a quick look. For example, supposing you have a set of sources in a certain part of the sky and you want to know the distribution of brightness, right? So you can immediately, I'll show it to you with a click of a button, you can find out what is the histogram, right? What is the distribution of brightness of the sources, or any other parameters that you want. Or if you want to, for example, know what is the dependence of brightness, magnitude error versus magnitude, you can plot that in a click of a button, right? TopCat has actually evolved over time in such a way that you can also do a certain amount of in-depth analysis also with it. And you can manipulate the data, right? Manipulate the table data. It gives you quite good plots, which are in a principle are publication worthy, though obviously they are not of the kind that you'd get with Seaborn, right? If you remember when we did our training program one, we spoke about Seaborn plots or Matplotlib plots. Those are, especially the Seaborn ones, are much more specialized. TopCat doesn't give you something as specialized as that. But once you do your plotting and you see it in TopCat, you will actually get an idea whether you want to make a plot of a certain kind. And that's what you can do using Matplotlib or Seaborn as you wish. But in certain cases, I myself have actually directly used even TopCat plots for publications. You can actually use them. So let us visit the page of TopCat. So I hope you can see my screen. Can you all see my browser? Yes. Okay. So this is the web page of TopCat. If you actually just Googled TopCat, you will actually get the page. And you'll see that this has all the details given in a very good manner about it. For example, what is TopCat, interactive graphical viewer and editor for tabular data.
Excuse me, Priya, sorry, we
Yeah.
can't see your browser. We just see a
Okay.
slide where it's written visit the page.
Okay. Then just a minute. Now you can see it? Now you can see the browser.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. So this is the TopCat page. And like I told you over here, you'll find a lot of details about the software. So like I said, TopCat is an interactive graphical viewer and editor for tabular data. And what you can say is what is the best part about TopCat is that one of the best parts about it is that it's written in pure Java, right? And therefore it is OS independent. So it doesn't make a difference what is the OS you have on your system, whether you're using Windows, Linux, or Mac. Whatever you use, you can anyway install TopCat. All you need to do is you need to install Java on your system. And once Java is working, you can easily use that to install whatever software you want, right? we'll be doing that in a minute. So just let's move ahead. Okay. And another important thing about TopCat is that the tables you input in can be of various formats. Okay. Now, many of you all may be familiar with the format which is there in Excel, right? But in Excel, there's also something called the CSV files, which are comma separated variable files, right? The CSV, comma separated variable. But other than that, in astronomy, we do have some other tabular formats. Basically, for the advantage is that it lets you give the headers, the titles for the data. It lets you give more information about parameters in astronomy. And therefore, like we have FITS images, you also have tables also in the FITS format, the flexible image transport system. That is the FITS. Then the virtual observatory developed their own table format, which is called the VO table format, which is VO tables. You could have tables in plain ASCII format. That is, you just have the ASCII files. Like I said, you have CSV, you can have various other formats. And what TopCat does is it lets you open any of these files with whatever the format it is that you're, importing it with. It even lets you output the files in whatever format you want, and all of them are described over here. Interesting also, it lets you also put it in a LaTeX format also, so that if you want to put it into a publication, right, it'll be easy for you to directly export your table onto a paper, for example, right, if you want to publish that table for for a publication. So it actually does this input and output format, and therefore it's almost a done thing that if you have any astronomy data, tabular data, if you open with TopCat, most probably it'll open everything. It opens it. There's no problem. Okay, and then you have there's an FAQ list given over here where you can get in touch for some of your questions. There's a mailing list. There are some screenshots, etc. So how do you download it? I hope most of you all have already downloaded. Like I said, you need to have Java running on your system. And the safest is just install TopCat full.jar. That will give you all the features of TopCat. And then once you download it, you will have to run a command in a Unix system. You will have to put a java -jar, TopCat, this file name .jar. That's the command you are going to give if it's on your command line. If it's in your Windows system, you just have to double click it and it will directly invoke Java and start it and do it in this way, right? So I'll just pause for a minute and I'll look at the chat box to see if did any of you all have problems in installing the software, right? So I'm just looking at your chat box now to look is if people had any problems in installing. Anyway, what we are going to do is we will have our session now. I will talk to you all about a few things, and after that, there'll be a short break, which will be used to basically debug problems which people may have in installations. But in case there are people who have a problem in installation, please already write it down on the chat window so that once I break for at mid-time, I will know who are the people who need help in installation of TopCat, right? But like I told you, you basically just need to download this TopCat full.jar file, right? On Linux, Unix, you'll say java -jar with the file, or this thing. And if you have an Apple Mac, you'll get this DMG file, TopCat full.dmg, and you can install it on that. There may be a little issues with Apple because it'll actually give you an error because this is a third-party software. It has its own security systems, but you will have to just permit it to use it. Then it does it, so there's no problem, right? And so that's the stuff about TopCat, right? And now I will go back to our presentation. So a lot of information, like I told you, is available on the web page, and you should get comfortable with actually using the web page and extracting whatever information you want, right? So essentially, what does TopCat do? It handles large astrophysics data catalogs. Okay, you can actually open millions of rows without any trouble. It doesn't have much of an issue with memory, etc., because it's essentially handling tabular data, right? So it doesn't have much of an issue. It can plot the data very fast, make you histograms, XY scatter plots, density plots, sky plots, right? You can very easily create subsets of the data. I'll show you how to do that. How do we create subsets of the data? You can cross correlate the catalog. Supposing your catalog is using optical data and you want to cross correlate it with, for example, with X-ray data or infrared data, you can do that very easily using TopCat. And you can also, with VO, there's a certain thing with which you can actually send your TopCat stuff to be visualized using DS9. And like I mentioned, it runs on all platforms independent of operating systems. And it is obviously free software. It's part of open source. It is free software available for everyone's use. I already showed you how to do the installation. You'll download the file from that website, the jar file. If you're using Linux or whatever, if you're using Apple, you'll use the DMG file. Otherwise, Windows, you can. The instructions are there on the installation page. And here is the interface, right? So I will now get on to the interface. So let me share my screen. And what I'm going to do is I will share my desktop. Right. So I'm now looking once again, is there anybody who has a problem who wants to say it on the chat window that they could not install this thing, right? So if you've installed it, you can see the TopCat logo and you can double click on it and here you can start TopCat, right? So I will just this thing, okay. So I hope you all can see this kind of a screen over here. I'm sharing my desktop. So I hope you all can see my screen, right? All good? Right. Mamta, if you're there, can you see the TopCat screen?
Yes, yes, it's working. All the windows are done.
Great. So here you can see that this is the TopCat screen. And what you actually can see over here is you can see file. For example, you can import a file. If you want to import a file, you can load table and import a certain file. So you can use your file browser and you can click onto something and look for a place where you have some data, right? So for example, I'm going to go into this. Here I have a file in VO table format, which is .vot. It could be in .csv format, which is comma separated variable, any of the formats. So let me say I'm taking the VOT format. So over here, I enter the VOT format. I put it over here and I click on it and I say, okay, right? So in this way, I have imported a data file of my own, right? Like I said, that data file can be of any format you like. It could be CSV, it could be VO table, it could be ASCII, it could be, any of the other formats, FITS format, any of the other formats which you would like, right? And essentially, like I said, it covers all the formats which are commonly used specifically in astronomy. Almost all the formats are covered, rather all of them, which I know. So once you've imported this file, you can see these windows over here, right? These tabs. This one is obviously for open file. This is for save. This one is the one which actually shows you the tabular format. So let's click on this. Click on this. And what you can see over here, it's giving you the format of the table, right? Now, this is basically a catalog, okay? This is a catalog of star clusters. And therefore, it has here, the first column is the name of the star clusters. The second one is the right ascension, the declination, galactic longitude, galactic latitude, and various other parameters, right? So these are all the columns which are provided for the about the data in my input file, right? So I can have a look at the input file like this. I can obviously play around in the sense, supposing I want to move this column over here, I just drag and drop it and move it, right? I can move a column wherever I want. Supposing I don't need this column, I can move it ahead. I can move it away. I don't want this one, I move it ahead, but I can get the ones which I want. So you can just drag and drop and use whichever column you want, right? You can also, like here over here, what you can see is I can actually, you can look at the table parameters. Now this table has been got from Vizier. If you remember last time I showed you what was Vizier. So this actually, it gives me the parameters of the table. It tells me that this table is derived from this article, this paper, which has so many rows, so many columns, and it has various parameters, right? So these things are sitting because it's a VO table format. If this file had been a CSV format file, then there would have been no space for this information to have been sitting, right? But the VO table format is designed so that it lets you put all these things with your data, right? And therefore that's over here. With this data, we can also create what are called subsets, right? So for example, if I want to take, I can create, this one is a subset. I can click on subset. I can say new subset. I can say n. And supposing this is my Geelong, for example, I can make a subset. This is my subset n, and I can name it as, let's say Geelong is say greater than 90, for example. So I can actually put a condition and make a subset. So I said Geelong greater than 90. Now what you see is in my table, it has marked all the, all the entries which have Geelong greater than 90, right? And so I can create the subset. And if I want to save it, I can actually save the subset also, right? So if I go on to TopCat, if you see the subsets, I can actually say this is the file, right? And therefore I can actually say
file on with them. They want it.
Okay, I'll share the data file with you all. Just a minute. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to share the same file with you. Just a minute, I'll just give it to you. Can't add, okay. Okay, so yeah, all of y'all can download that data file. Yes, sorry, I should have given it to you in the very beginning itself. Please take the data file and okay. So Nimbi says she's just installed TopCat. So now when you double click it, does TopCat open? Does the window for TopCat open? Yeah, does the window for TopCat open, Nimi? Yes, okay. And you're getting this interface. Now I've sent you the file, cat.vot, and just try to open the file, right? Just try to open the file. I hope it's opening. If it's not opening, just tell me.
Some people have just managed to install. Can you repeat in brief?
Okay. Okay, I can repeat it in brief. Let me, this thing. Okay. So some people want a repetition. So if your TopCat has just got installed, press on file and say load table, right? And go to the location where this file is being stored, the one that I shared with you just now, cantatcat.vot. Go to that point and share the table, right? So click on it and say okay, and you will load the table. I have doubly loaded the table. That's okay. No problem. I hope you all managed to load it. So I'll just pause a little bit and let me know if you all have managed to open it, right? And just press on this to see whether you can see the table. What link do you want? Philippine Astronomical Society, the Cantat file. Okay, I'll just reshare it. I'll just share it once again. I'll also put it on Slack. Just give me a minute. I'll put it over here, and I'm sharing it on Slack also. Okay, just a minute. I will attachments, upload from computer. Yeah, so I've shared the file also on Slack. So in case you didn't get it from Zoom, you can take it from Slack. Okay. So I hope that's fine. Has everybody managed to open the file? Has everybody managed to open the file? Please write in the chat window in case you all have a problem or you can't open it. It's reasonably simple because it's just Java based, so there should not be. In case you have a problem, we will anyway use the break to actually look at that. Okay, very good. YB, you managed to open the file, and can you see the tables? Can you see the column data? Click on this thing. Click on this tab. This tab. This will show you this thing. Right? This will show you the table. Right? If you can see the table like this. Yeah, I hope you all can open the table. All good? Okay. So people who did not manage, don't worry. Like I told you, the break I'm going to give you is just to do that so that we can individually debug for people. Very good. So YB, you've managed to open it. That's good. And for example, look at the next tab over here. This one displays stats for every column. So if you click on this thing, what it tells you for your data, it tells you some basic stats for the data, right? For example, it's telling you that, for RA deck, the minimum is this, the maximum is this, the standard deviation, the mean, as well as if you want more detailed statistics, if you click on statistics, you can actually, you can add whatever more you wanted to display. Supposing you want the median values, or supposing you want the quartiles, right? 90% quartile, right? Or whatever else you want, you can see that it will display for you. So all the stats that you may want, all these kind of stats, the sample standard deviation, sample variance, various other parameters, all these parameters can be immediately calculated for you for your whole sample. Yeah. Okay. So is that fine? So you can see that with this tab, you can directly see the stats also. We are going to use this very soon, but I'm just introducing you to these capabilities, that this is the stats you can get, right? Other than that, if you continue, you can see you can get histogram. These are the plots. I can get a histogram for any of the parameters. If I click on this, this is the RA. This is giving me actually the spread of the, the RAs, right? The histogram for the RAs. So you can see you're getting one peak over here and one peak over here. And there are some interesting reasons why we have such peaks, okay? And that's basically related to the spiral structure of our galaxy. So this is basically a catalog of star clusters in our galaxy. And you can see that they are not equally distributed over our RAN deck, right? The next thing you can see is here is a plot, which you can actually see, which let us not do it with XY, but I will show it to you in terms of RA and deck. So you can see in terms of RA and deck, this is the plot. Now, why is that like that? Some of you all can give it a thought. Why? See, the star clusters are all located on the disk of the galaxy, right? They are all along the disk of the galaxy. So you can see that the range is like this. And why is it like this? We'll talk about it a little later. But that's also something interesting. You can also do a 3D plot if you do this, right? So you can see, like I told you, all the star clusters are along the disk of the galaxy. So here it's plotted it for the galaxy, and it's actually showing you like this. This is equatorial. If I put it in galactic coordinates, let me put it in galactic coordinates with latitudes and longitudes. And here you can see that you actually have these, they lie along the disk, right? They lie along the disk of the galaxy. So the longitudes and the latitudes, I should have actually put it reverse. I could have reversed it. I'll do latitude versus longitude. Right. And get it in this way. Okay. So that's the plot for that. And then there are many more features. We will be using that very soon. The matchsticks actually imply for matching. So for example, if I've got my catalog from something, supposing it's an optical catalog and I want to match it to X-ray sources in that region, I will match it using this double match. Okay. So the double match is for matching of catalogs, literally matching. Similarly, you can query remote databases, etc., and do these various things, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later on. But as of now, I would like you to have your TopCat running, right? And see how to actually use it. Now we are going to use it by applying it to a certain science case, okay? So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint and show you the science case to which we are going to apply it, right? So this was the basic, the basic introduction to TopCat. Now what we're going to do is we are going to get our TopCat onto use, right? So what we're going to talk about today is our science case 1, right? What are we going to use TopCat for? So the science case 1, which we're going to do, is about stars, okay? And specifically star clusters. And this is just something just for entertainment. What are stars? Let's move on to that. So all of you all are aware of that stars are basically nuclear reactors, right? So you basically have gravitational collapse of a molecular cloud, and the collapse takes place to increase temperatures. And finally, the temperature gets so high that you can actually start off nuclear reactions, right? So that's the capability of that. That is the, what do you say, the energy source for a star, because it's a nuclear reactor. So what we know, it's a big ball of gas with fusion taking place, and it's held together by gravity, right? But how do we form stars, right? How do we form stars? And it was found, basically proposed by Jeans. He was the first to actually propose that stars are formed just by the gravitational force, right? So basically what you have a massive molecular cloud, which is so massive that it falls in its own weight, right? So that's what is called the gravitational collapse. Now, we are not going to details into about this, but Jeans actually defined a Jeans length and parameters in which you would actually have gravitational collapse taking place. And basically what he set up was what was called the Jeans criterion. That means here what you're saying is the gravitational potential has to exceed this factor, which gets defined by the temperature. So you basically need a cloud which is massive, so that your left-hand side is large. You want a massive cloud, and on the right-hand side, which you want small, you want the temperature to be low. So you want a cold, massive cloud in which the gravitational force will exceed the average kinetic energy of molecules to actually cause the gravitational collapse of that cloud, right? And with that, Jeans defined something called a Jeans mass. So essentially, if you have a molecular cloud with a mass greater than the Jeans mass, then in that case, this cloud can collapse in its own weight, and it can actually trigger the formation of stars, right? So therefore, what we know is that stars are born in giant molecular clouds like this, right, which are very cold, made up of hydrogen and helium. And if the cloud is a low mass cloud, then the gravitational force is not too strong. There's more of gas pressure, right? But if the cloud is a high mass one, right? So in that case, the pressure wins and the cloud expands. But if the cloud is a high mass cloud, then in that case, gravity dominates, pressure is less, and the cloud collapses. Now, if the cloud collapses, the cloud then breaks up into further fragments, right? Into further bits, which further fragments into different bits. And each of those smaller bits then formed what are called stars, right? But essentially, what we see in this understanding of star formation is that stars are not born in isolation. They are essentially born in groups, where you have such a big group in which you can have this gravitational collapse taking place. And like I said, they're born in groups, and all field stars, including our sun, must have formed in a cluster, right? After which it then dispersed and got mixed up, right? And therefore, star formation, as we know, is basically, if we see that stars in what are called embedded clusters are very young groups of stars. So these are called clusters. And many of them still are bound. And these are what are the star clusters in which stars are formed. And therefore, a star cluster is defined as a sample of stars formed by the same molecular cloud, where all stars have the same age, chemical composition, and at the same distance. They differ only in mass. Okay, so that is the definition of a star cluster. Now, what are the types of clusters we see in our sky? We see star clusters like open clusters, which are this. For example, there's Pleiades, which you can see in the sky, which is called the Seven Sisters. In India, it's called Kritika, and it's a naked eye cluster. You can see it with your naked eyes. There are also what are called globular clusters, which are groups of stars which are much closer together, and they are much more tightly bound. But essentially, like I mentioned, these are groups which are formed at the same time, the same distance, and of the same chemical composition, right? Globular clusters, like I said, they are more densely distinct. These are open clusters. So our science case we are going to work on is on open clusters. And these are looser groups of stars, which are basically found in the disk of the galaxy, right? Now, Pleiades is the one I mentioned, which you may have seen easily with your naked eyes. It is near the Taurus constellation, which is also very easily visible in the sky, right? So now what is our science case? We are going to actually look for a cluster. How do we actually look for a cluster or identify a cluster on the sky? Now, like I mentioned to you, a cluster is a group of stars which are born together from the same molecular cloud. They are at the same distance and they have the same chemical composition, right? So now what happens is we basically want to look at the sky. So we look at the sky and look for regions where we have stars, groupings of stars. Like I mentioned, I already shared with you a VO table which actually has a catalog. It has a catalog of clusters. So we are going to deal with only one cluster today, but you can obviously do the same kind of an exercise for any of the clusters which are mentioned in the catalog, which I've shared it with you all, right? Now, the problem is if you actually let us go back to this thing, supposing you look at this cluster, this is a naked eye cluster, you can see that there are a set of these stars which are bright stars, right? And there are some faint stars also lying in this region, right? Now, if all these stars form together from the same cloud, they are obviously at the same distance from us, and they also have similar velocities, right? But the problem is that there are many more stars lying in this region. Now, how do we know which are the stars which are members of this cluster and which ones are not members of this cluster, right? How do we find that out? That's what we are going to do today. So, there are ways of finding out membership of cluster stars. One method is what is called distance. Supposing if you know the distances to the stars in that region of the sky, right? And you decide, okay, this cluster is at whatever distance. So all stars which are at that same distance, I say they are all members, right? So one method is by the distance. The other method to identify members is what is called kinematic. That means if these stars are moving with the same velocity, right? That means they may have formed from the same cloud and therefore they are cluster members. Now, to measure velocity is not very easy. That can be done only with spectroscopy, right? So you need to basically have spectroscopic data for individual stars with which you can define what is their velocity, find out their velocity, and based on that, you can actually state what is the, whether it's a member or not. The other method used is what is called the spectroscopic method. That means, supposing you see the spectrum of a star, you can identify what is its spectral type. If you know its spectral type, for example, you say it's a star like the sun, which is a G5 star, right? It's a G5 star, and therefore for G5 stars, you know what is its absolute magnitude. You are observing it with a certain apparent magnitude. So you can do, apparent minus absolute, and that will give you what is called the distance modulus or the distance to the stars, and that's where you could find it out. So there are various methods of finding out membership of cluster stars, and that's very crucial because based on that you will decide which of those stars are members of the cluster or no. So if you're studying some properties of the cluster, you need to know which ones are the members. Only then you can, study properties of that cluster. Otherwise you will not know that, right? Now, clusters, why are clusters important? Clusters are important because, like I told you, all stars are born in clusters. So if I want to study young stars, they are essentially all going to be in clusters because they are very young. And the other good thing is that this is a ready sample of stars which are born at the same time, same distance, same chemical composition. The only difference is in terms of mass. And therefore, these are very good ways of studying stellar evolution, right? Because you can actually see how does the evolution of stars depend upon its mass. And there's a very strong relationship of the evolution of stars on their mass, right? And therefore, star cluster studies have actually been giving us the best indicators of that. This is also very good to study variable stars, right? Because, for example, if you know which are star cluster members, you know their distance, you know their absolute magnitudes. And if there's a variation in that, you can actually use that to study various properties. In a sense, there could be various variable stars. People also look, for example, for exoplanets in star clusters, because you will see that in terms of transits, where you'll get a variability. You could also look for what are called pre-main sequence stars or very young stars in clusters. You can use that to study the star formation process, for example, to get what is called the initial mass function, IMF, or the luminosity function, to basically study how are stars, formed, to study intercluster medium, to study galaxy formation, because basically galaxies are made of stars and stars are sitting in star clusters. And therefore, if you want to study a galaxy population, you can do it by studying the star cluster population of that galaxy. And it can also give you hints on to cosmology in the sense of the Hubble constant. We won't go into those details today, but just keep it aware that's an important area of research. And why is membership important? What is the use of membership? Membership is very important because we are not talking about the HR diagram today. I'm sorry, I'm slightly jumping today, but I don't, otherwise then it would become, a class on astronomy basics. So stars are basically placed on a diagram which is called the HR diagram, the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. In the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, the y-axis has what is called brightness or magnitude, and the x-axis has temperature or color. By color, we mean the brightness in two different filters. Okay. So for stars, what we do is when we observe them, we can do what is called photometry. That is, we measure the brightness in a certain filter. Okay. And that gives us the brightness or the magnitude of the star. If we observe it in two filters, we take the difference of that, and that gives us what is called the color. So you have the magnitude or the brightness on the y-axis, and you have the color on the x-axis. Now the color is very strongly related to the temperature of stars, right? So what happens is, if we actually know the membership of stars, we can place them in the HR diagram when you know the distance and what is called the interstellar reddening, how much of absorption has taken place. And we can use that to get all the parameters of stars, which include their mass, their radius, their temperature, and their age, right? So for stellar astrophysics, the HR diagram is the most important diagram, because this is the diagram which actually gives you the values of the parameters of stars, right? For example, the mass of stars, the radius of stars, the temperature, and the age. And therefore, what is essential in astronomy is to place stars on the HR diagram. And once you place it on the HR diagram, you get the values of all these parameters, right? And that's what we are doing for star clusters. And like I mentioned, there's what is called the distance modulus, which is the difference between the apparent and the absolute magnitude of stars. So that is a function of the distance. So if you know the distance to the star, or you know the apparent and absolute magnitudes, you can find out the distance. And if you do that, you can place it on this HR diagram, because here on the y-axis, you have what is called absolute magnitude. So if I want absolute magnitude, I need to know the distance to those stars, right? And therefore, I need the distance modulus. And what is basically done, the traditional method of studying star clusters, is you plot the magnitude on the color, and we actually do a shift. We shift it by this amount, which is the distance modulus, and place it like this. This is called the main sequence of the HR diagram, and that's the region where stars lie when they are basically fusing hydrogen, right? Adult stars. For example, our sun is also a main sequence star, which is sitting on this part of the HR diagram, right? So this is the HR diagram plotted for different clusters. So there's a cluster called Coma, Hyades, Praecep, M41, M11. These are all the different HR diagrams. I'm sorry, but we won't go into the detail of these things. But essentially, the HR diagram is something like this. Luminosity goes like this, temperature goes like this, mass goes like this, and size goes like this. So for example, stars which are located over here, these are very massive stars with high masses. Stars which are located over here, they have very large radii. Their radius is very large. Stars which are located to this part, any part over here, these are hot stars. And stars which are located over here, these are very bright stars, right? So that's how our HR diagram is situated, is this thing. Now what we're going to do is we are going to plot an HR diagram for a star cluster. But for that, what are the essential steps? We need to know the members of the cluster, right? We then need to find out the distance modulus of the cluster, the distance of the stars, and then we can plot it on the HR diagram. So that's what we are going to do. So we are going to use this to get this. So now we will actually do the demo, which we can do. But before this, I need to tell you all about another thing, which we are going to do. we are going to use a data set called Gaia. Okay, so I'm going to once again, I'm going to share another document, and I'll just show that to you. Right. Okay. So right, 1 second. I hope you all can see my present slide. Yeah, with Gaia. Yeah. So the data which we are going to use for this exercise, which we are going to do, is data using an ESA, the European Space Agency. They sent a satellite called Gaia, which is basically studies stars. It gives very good measurements of the positions and velocities and the brightness and the color of stars, okay, in our galaxy. Now, we won't go into details about Gaia. So this is the satellite. It's basically made up of two mirrors. So for it, what it does is that for that part of the sky, for the stars, it will give out its coordinates, which is the right ascension, the declination. It also gives us a parameter which is called parallax. Now, parallax is a parameter which basically gives us distance. So 1 upon parallax is the distance. Okay. So we are going to use this in the exercise. So you need to keep that in mind, that parallax is the distance. Okay. And RV is the radial velocity. That means it's giving us the velocity in the line of sight. Okay. In the line of sight, it gives us the velocity, right? It also gives us the velocity in the plane of sky. And the plane of sky velocities are what is called PMRA and PMDEC. So PM is what is called proper motion, right? For example, if I see a star today and I saw it, say, 50 years ago, and I realized that at the same time there's a slight movement of the star, that is what is called proper motion, okay? And now the proper motion is resolved in the two coordinates of right ascension and declination. And therefore we call it proper motion RA and proper motion dec. And this is basically used to calculate the velocity in the plane of sky, right? So the plane of sky velocity is obtained by using the PMRA, which is the proper motion in RA, and the PM dec. RV is the line of sight velocity, the Doppler shift, right? So line of sight velocity is the RV value, right? So Gaia data essentially gives us this 6-dimensional data. What is the data? 6 dimensions. 2 are the coordinates, right ascension and declination. The third coordinate is the distance, which is the parallax. 1 upon parallax is the distance. And the velocity is basically in 3 components. One is the radial velocity, which is the velocity in the line of sight, right? The other velocity is the velocity in the proper motion in RA. And the next one is the proper motion in dec, right? So these are the 6 coordinates which Gaia gives us. And this is very, very important data, specifically for what I was talking about. We were talking about star clusters, and we said that in star clusters, the important factor is the membership. How do we define the membership? We can define the membership using parallax because that gives us distance, and we can use it using radial velocity, proper motion RA, and proper motion dec. So therefore, these are very valuable, important factors in determining membership of star cluster stars, right? And that is why we are using the Gaia data set, which is a very important data set specifically for this purpose, right? And this is very new data. This is very fresh data, which is being released. At present, we've just had the 3rd early data release of Gaia. We are going to have the data release 3, 4, and 5. So there are many more data releases which are going to come. And that's why I thought that this was a very important data set to show you all, because many of you all who may now try out some kind of research in astronomy, there'll be very new data being available with Gaia with the different data releases, right? So what you do in today's session, you can apply it to the data release 3, 4, and 5 also. And as the data releases improve, the quality of the data also improves, and the quality of the results you will get will also improve. So Gaia also gives you photometry, in the sense it gives you photometry in a certain filter called the G filter, the G, and it gives you in the BP and the RP. So the BP is the blue photometer and RP is the R photometer. So you will see that, think of the HR diagram, the brightness is given in terms of the G magnitudes, and the color is the difference between the BP minus RP. Okay, that means the brightness in the blue filter minus the brightness in the red filter. Okay, so that's what we're going to use to make our HR diagram. So we have our 6-dimensional information, which I showed you, which is RA, deck, parallax, radial velocity, proper motion RA, proper motion deck. And to couple that, then we have the photometric data, which we are going to use for our HR diagram, which is the G magnitude brightness and the color, which is BP and RP, right? Blue filter and red filter. That's what we are going to use. And we are not going to go into more details about Gaia. I will exit that, but I'm going to now come out of this and we'll get ready for our science case. So like I told you, what is our science case? Our science case is we are going to use TopCat to basically study a star cluster. Okay. And how are we going to study it? We are basically going to study it using Gaia data and right. Okay. So we'll use Gaia data and get the membership. So I'm going to stop now, but meanwhile, I'm going to share with you all the tutorial sheet, okay, which I'm going to be doing after the break, right? And you can have a look at this tutorial sheet. I will start working it out with you all moment we finish with our break. But right. So this is the thing. I'm putting it on the Zoom as well as I'm going to share it on, I'm sharing it over here. So this is the tutorial sheet. We will work through some of it in the time that we get, and the remaining time, the homework would be to continue with the tutorial sheet, right? So I'm just going to, 1 minute. Okay. So I'm, if you all see, I have shared the TopCat presentation as well as the tutorial on Slack as well as on Zoom, right? So I'm just, I hope you all can have a look at it. And people who have already installed it, you all can start playing around with it. You can open the tutorial. It gives very nice stepwise stepwise information as to how to run the tutorial. I will be running that with you. But before I start off with that, I would like to pause to basically get an idea whether is everybody set and ready to run the tutorial. So please let me know in the chat window if anybody has had a problem in installing the software, right? In case you have a problem in installing the software, then I can help you just now. The others will get a 10-minute break. You all can grab yourself tea, coffee, or whatever you like. And we will meet again in 10 minutes, right? I am anyway online, open to questions which people may have on installation, right? So we'll stop just now, and please let me know if you have any doubts on the installation, right? So
Hello, ma'am.
yeah,
Am I audible?
yeah, I can hear you well. Tell me.
Ma'am, actually, I have opened this table. The file which
Okay.
you shared, but I'm not sure if that is the opening. Can I share my screen for a minute? You can tell me if it is
Just
correct.
a minute. I'll just give you permission. You have permission. You can share.
Okay.
Yeah. You have installed TopCat, so you have that logo coming in, the TopCat logo and all that is there.
Yes. Ma'am, see, this is the window which I'm
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that correct?
Correct. This is absolutely right. Perfect.
Ma'am, because I was not able to do it from here. because I was not able to find the file from here. Then I just simply
You have to obviously
um,
take it to the location wherever you downloaded that file, na, which I shared
yes,
with you. So you use the file
this
browser, that tab, you use the file browser tab to direct it to the location where the file is sitting, right? And you'll open it
yes,
from there.
and
Okay,
then
perfect.
I opened this table, and it
Very good.
is.
Click on it. Yeah,
I think it is showing.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So
ma'am,
this
if
is
it
the
is
table.
correct.
So perfect. Yours is fine. It's all good. If you, yeah, you
Yeah.
can play around with it, but you're fine. You're good.
Okay,
Nimi, you're
ma'am.
fine.
Thank you.
So what about the others? Are the others having a problem? Fatima, Sigrid, Fernando, Sarah, are you all good? Is it all working? Because I don't want to move ahead. I want to move with everyone, right? So let's just check. Are you all, is TopCat installed? Are you able to, put that file, that VO table file, and see the tables? Okay, I can see some comments. Anushka. Anushka has a doubt in installation. I've worked previously TopCat on Linux, but now I'm working with Windows. I downloaded this thing, double clicked, but it's opening in WinRAR. No, no, no. So when you double click it now, you right click it and it'll ask you what to associate it with, right? And then you just click on Java. Is Java installed on your system? Uh, Anushka. Anushka, just have a look at when you're right clicking it. What it's doing is it's opening it with the RAR, what do you say, the RAR file, this thing, opener. It because you know your file is .jar file, na? So it doesn't know what is a .jar file. So please do it with that. So Anushka, all you need to do is have your Java running. Java should be running. And then when you right click it, say open it with Java. Okay? Uh, Yeah, I've shared the files already in Zoom. If you missed it on Zoom, then can you take it from Slack? Who is this? S. I don't know who's S, but the files are shared on Slack also. And probably that's better because it'll always remain on Slack. So on Slack, I've shared the presentation, shared the tutorial, as well as shared that VO table file. All the files are shared on Slack. Okay? Please have a look and let me know. Oops, what happened to my face? What happened to my face? I'm looking strange.
You've become your own background.
No, how can I become my own background?
See, look good now.
Achha, now I'm good. Oh God, it's too bright. We'll keep it off. Okay. Nimi, you're unable to open the file. So
No, ma'am. It's okay.
It's open. You opened it. Okay, very good.
Ma'am, I showed you on screen, right?
Yeah, you sure? That's what I was wondering. I was reading an older thing, I think. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Now you can open that PDF one also, which I shared. Or the tutorial. Anyway, I'll show you the tutorial, but you can start with it. I hope, Anushka, your problem is solved. Anushka, is your problem solved? Okay. Working on it. Okay. What about Fatima, Sigrid? Are you all fine? Neha? Yeah. Are you all fine? Are you all managing to run it?
Well, Sigrid is up.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thanks. I'm here, so please let me know if you want any help. Because then in 5 minutes, we'll start off with the demo. So then if you have a problem, you can run the video later on because we'll be sharing the recording also with everyone. So in case you finally still have a problem, don't worry. You can still.
Secret is just experiencing bad network.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I even entered so late.
Okay, no problem. No problem. The recording will be available, so you can use that and you can contact me whenever you have a problem. Right?
Okay, great.
Just let me.
Thanks.
Yeah. So you can try out everything, and in case you have any problem on Slack, I'll be available, or we can even have separate Zoom sessions or whatever. Not a problem.
Okay, great. That will be good.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 minutes to go. Should I proceed with the tutorial? Should I proceed if everybody's doing fine? Should I proceed? Yeah, I think everybody's fine, right? Then we'll shorten our break, or do we still want the break? Okay, great. Okay, so let's proceed. I have the go from a few of you all. So let's proceed. So what you're going to do, you're going to double click on TopCat and open TopCat, right? So I will instead go into my TopCat, right? So, okay, I'll just try to share my desktop. I hope you all can see my complete screen with the TopCat window. I'll check the chat. Yeah, very good. So Rogers, you can see my screen, right? You can see the TopCat screen. Okay. So let's start off with our first exercise. If you see, which is there in the tutorial, the PDF file, which I've shared with you, TC Tut, right? TopCat tutorial. I've shared that with you, and I can show it to you again over here also. Let me show that to you. I think it's here. Okay. Yes, very good. So we are going to start working on this tutorial, but your homework is to continue working on the tutorial and try to do everything, and let me know if you have an issue with anything. So this is the tutorial which we are going to do with exploring Gaia data with TopCat. Okay. So the first thing, so like you can see, there are 5 exercises in this. The first one is cluster identification, M4 in proper motion space. The second one is cluster identification, Hyades in 3D velocity space. After that, we're going to do a short exercise on matching Gaia with HST observations. Then we are going to do M4 in proper motion using stills. And then we'll do the local HR diagram. Okay. So let's start off with this thing. And I'm going to go back to our TopCat screen, right? So let me go back to desktop and TopCat, right? So all good, right? You can see my screen. So let's start off with our first exercise, which is our exercise with M4, okay? Now, like I told you, TopCat is part of the virtual observatory, alliance, right, of these things. So what I showed you all with this file this was actually local file, which was lying on my system, right? But what if I want to query data from the net? For example, I want to query Gaia data and get that from the internet, right? So what you can see is you'll see a tab over here called VO, okay? VO stands for Virtual Observatory, right? So please click on VO, right? Please click on VO and click on what is the cone search. So what happens is the cone search, you'll actually look for objects within a certain region, right? Just a minute. I hope you all found that VO button. Yes, everyone's fine. I'm going to keep the chat window open so that in case people have a problem, please write it in your chat. Okay. So you click on VO, click on cone search. Okay. It's mentioned over here in that file also. Click on cone search. Now over here, what you have to do is, I've already done this, so I will remove this. Here you have to write, this is the earlier material, that's why it's sitting over here. I'm going to remove it. Okay. So you'll go into VO, go into cone search, and over here, what you need to write is you write Gaia EDR3. EDR3 is the early data release 3 of the Gaia data. Okay. And when you run this over here, you will see that you get a list of places which actually are hosting the Gaia data. Okay. So these are all the places where you have Gaia data available. Now, for example, I've taken this Gaia EDR3 at ESA, right? I've taken that. You could take whatever you like. You can take this ADDI also. You can take this. So you can, let's take Gaia EDR3 at ESA. Over here, what you're going to do, so now this is fine. This is your source. Now the next thing which you'll need to do is you need to put your object name. Now write M4 over here, right? We are going to look for M4 and you will press resolve. Grace, you want the file? We are actually downloading the file just now from the internet. Okay. I'll just discard this table and I'll show it to you again. Press on VO. Grace, I hope your TopCat is working, right? Grace, is TopCat working? Yes. So now just press on cone search, right? And press on type keywords Gaia EDR3. Then click over here on Gaia EDR3 at ESA. Now we've resolved M4, right? And this radius, as per this document, you have to change the radius to 0.3 degrees. Okay. I hope everybody is managing that. Grace, the file is there even on Slack. I hope you have it on Slack. I hope you are on Slack. We'd request everybody to join Slack, please. Right? Okay. So take it from Slack. And please put all these entries as I mentioned. So what are we doing? We are actually accessing the Gaia database and getting the data for the cluster M4. Okay. M4 is a globular cluster and we are actually getting the data, the Gaia data for M4, right? Okay. And then what you need to do is you need to press OK, right? Once you press OK, TopCat will start downloading the data for M4, okay? But this is not yet saved on your system, okay? This is only being accessed by TopCat. If you want to save it on your system, you have to save it separately, right? Otherwise, it is just being accessed by TopCat, okay? Now you can see that this may take a little while, right? Because we have asked for the data for a very large region. It is 0.3 degrees, right? It's a very large region. It's a largish region. So you'll see that the number of sources you're going to get is quite large, right? I hope everybody is fine with this. Please let me know in the chat window if you have a problem in downloading this data. Yeah, my eyes are on the. So Sarah, no problem. You have to wait till it gets the data, right? The only other way is we can make a smaller size. Instead of 0.3, we can do 0.1. Otherwise 0.3. Okay. So AS, you don't you can delete it. There's a cancel button, right? Cancel it, because otherwise you're going to be wasting your internet to get 3 files and they're exactly the same ones. So just press on cancel, right? Press on cancel and keep one. Obviously download with one, but otherwise cancel the multiple downloads. Otherwise you're going to be wasting a lot of time. Even this seems to be taking so much time. I'm going to reduce this size. I'm going to make this 0.1 because that seems to be taking quite long. It's not yet done it only. Okay, very good. So the smaller one is already done, I think. Oh no, it's done. So if you all have already downloaded it, use this to look at this table, right? Please everybody, the same tab you saw which shows the tabular data, click on this, right? To actually see the tabular data. Okay. Okay. Is that fine for everyone? Right? So here you can see the tabular data that we have downloaded. You can see that this is this distance is not the distance to the cluster. This is the distance from the search point, right? So when we actually resolved it and we said that this was the position of the cluster, this is giving us the distance from the position of the center, right? So this is not the distance to the star. Here you have the solution ID. This is the designation. Here you can see, this is the RA deck of the sources. There is the factor which we call parallax. I told you all about parallax, where 1 upon parallax is basically the distance, right? There is a factor called parallax error, which is telling you the error. And there's parallax over error, which actually tells you what is the ratio of that. Then you have here the proper motion in RA and the proper motion RA error, the proper motion in deck, right? And the proper motion in deck error and various other parameters. These are important for us. And then the other important parameter for us is the G magnitude, which I'll show it to you. This is the G magnitude, photometric mean flux. And as you scroll ahead, you will find another factor, which is the color one, which is the BP minus RP. Here, the BP minus RP, which is the difference, right? Yeah, so Nimi's asked me, how do you know it's done? You will know it's done when it comes into the tables. You see here I got 2 tables, no? So if it's come into the tables, that means it's done. So maybe it's already done. I think it may be done by now also, because it should work, right? Okay. So now if you look at your tutorial sheet, you can see first thing is 1.2, how do we identify the co-moving cluster? How do we identify the co-moving cluster? Click on this. This one is what is called a scatter plot. Okay. I hope all of you all can see this. Click on this, the scatter plot. And if you look at the plot over here, what you basically have to do is you have to plot this versus you have to plot PM RA versus PM deck, right? I hope you all can see it all over here. This is for the smaller data set. I'll take the bigger one. Okay, so this is the bigger one. This one is a little bigger than this one. Okay, can you all? I hope all of you all have got this. Should I repeat this thing? Okay, I'll repeat it. So what you're going to do is click on this window, the one next to the histogram. This is the histogram plot. This is the scatter. Okay, so click on the window next to the histogram plot window. Click on it. This gives you what is called a scatter plot. Now what has to be put on x-axis and y-axis, right? It comes down from this drop-down menu, right? So look at this x-axis. You have drop-down over here. Click on the drop-down and you'll see various parameters and click on PM RA, which is the proper motion in RA, right? I hope you all have found it. Okay. Click on PM RA, right? Click. And then for the y-axis, look at the same drop-down, similar drop-down, click on this and here select PM deck. Okay, select PM deck, this, and you will get a plot which looks like this, which is basically plotting the proper motion in RA versus the proper motion in deck for the stars for which you have got the data. Okay, I hope you all have all managed this. Please in the chat window tell me if you have not managed this. Anushka, you asked for a repeat. I repeated. Tell me if everything is fine or you need that to be done. It's done. So I hope all of you all have got a plot like this, right? Now, basically, you can see two groupings. Very good. Fatima also got it. So you can see two grouping of stars. You can see this group on top and you see this group down, right? Now, this group on top, you can see it's centered around 0, 0, right? It's centered somewhere near 0, 0, right? And why is it centered around 0, 0? Because if I take set of stars, right, in a certain part of the sky, right, the parallax, the average parallax will be about 0, right? There'll be positive ones, there'll be negative ones, it'll all this thing around these. So these are not important stars for us at all because they are centered around 0, 0, right? But if the stars belong to a cluster, then they move with the same velocity, right? So stars of a cluster move with the same velocity, and that same velocity is not 0, 0. It is something like this. So if you look over here down, you see position, you can actually see the center of this is something like minus 12.6, minus 19.3, right? I hope you all can see it. Minus 12.6, minus 19.3. That is the position. And therefore, these stars are the cluster stars, right? And therefore, how do we mark these stars? Click on subsets, okay? You can see subsets on top. Click on subsets, okay? Everyone click on subsets and you click on draw blob subset. So draw blob subset lets you draw a freehand region to define a subset, okay? So you can define a subset by using this blob. So click on draw blob subset and mark. Now what you do is you use your mouse if you have a mouse. If you have a scroll pad, press on the left and mark, right? Mark this, right? And then go back to subsets, say finish drawing blob and call this subset, for example, cluster. And I say add subset. And therefore my subset is now this. I can make a bigger one if I wanted. Press draw blob subset. I'll make it slightly bigger. Okay. And I'll say finish drawing blob and I call this cluster. Right? So this is my blob. I can, just for uniformity, I can I'll make this in blue so it looks like what you have in your tutorial sheet, right? So in here we have identified the cluster members, right? How have we identified them? We've identified by using the velocity information, the proper motion in RA and the proper motion in deck, and we've used this, right? Now I will show you how very beautifully you can see how have we got these objects, right? So now how will you do it? What can you do is we want to actually see these are stars which are moving together. So we want to actually see this co-moving subsets. So what do? We click over here, right? We come up to this, right? And you click on graphics, okay? Click on graphics and in graphics, click on skyplot, okay? So everybody with me, please click on graphics and then click on skyplot, right? So we click on skyplot. Here are my stars, right? Okay. And what you can actually see is you put the click on form, and in forms, click on this and you say add sky vector, click on it. And what the sky vector is going to do is it's going to plot the velocities. And here on the right, you'll see there's something called here. You see coordinates delta ln in coordinates delta ln, put PMRA, and in the next coordinates part, right, which is the next one, in lat, you can put PM, PM deck, right? Okay, and here you see are plotted all the stars. Over here now what you can do is there is another parameter which you'll find down here called scale. So with scale, I can reduce the length of these arrows. So I reduce the length of these arrows. And now what you're going to do is if you click on subsets, right, we will click on cluster and look at this. Now what you're going to actually see is you will see all these cluster stars seem to be moving together. If I remove the cluster stars, you can see that oh, okay, this is the mistake. This is the mistake. It's from a smaller region. That's why it's come like this. So I'll just repeat this. That was that other file. I'll just change it. Give me that's 1 minute. Change it here. PM deck. Okay, it's not on Sky Vector. So go on Sky Vector and PMRA. The second one is PM deck. Right? So you can look at these stars and you can actually see that 1 minute. I think I'll just repeat the steps in case some of you all have a problem. So what we are going to do is, first of all, I'm going to remove this smaller table I want to discuss. Okay. Click on graphics, click on Skyplot, right? And here's your file. And here what you're going to do is you are going to actually, right, 1 minute. I'll just repeat the earlier step in case anybody missed it. So the first step is you're going to take this thing, plot this with PMRA and PM deck, right? So I'm going to plot it with PMRA and PM deck, right? These are your two blobs. Then you're going to click on subsets. You say draw blob subset. I'm going to draw this blob over here. Yeah, finish this blob and I'll call this cluster, right? And I say add subset, right? Now what I'm going to do is I am going to click on graphics and I'll go on Skyplot. And then when I go on Skyplot, I am going to again click on form. When you click on form, click on Sky Vector, right? And then when you go down over here you can go down and here click on PMRA and here click on PM deck. Here are your angles. Yeah, these are showing you your velocities. And like you can see the velocities are directed in all directions, right? Because these are all the stars, right? These are all the stars. They are showing velocities in all different directions. But if I specifically take my cluster set, I will see these are coming here. I will just try to put this over here. Let me just remove this so that it shows better. I'll just, because this blue is very, very dark. Let us look at this. If you look at all these basic cluster stars, you can see that the direction is in all directions, right? It is actually showing you stars in all directions. Let us zoom into this a little bit. Let us zoom into this a little bit and okay, this is the zoomed version, right? And right? So you can see here you have stars in all directions, right? But when I'm specifically choosing the cluster stars are all in this direction. I think I've taken too many. Maybe I should just repeat this with taking lesser number of stars. I think these are getting a bit too much. So I will just reduce my blob subset. Okay. Right. And here, okay, here anyway, there are so many of them. There's still many of them. Still a large number. Okay. But you can see very clearly here that all the stars are actually in all directions. Right. This is right. So the first step was this. So now what you can see is our cluster stars are all moving in the same direction, right? They are all moving in the same direction and going in this way. While the non-cluster members, they are moving in different directions. Now, if these are cluster members, we already said that they will have similar distances, right? How do we check that out? Let's go into histogram and we'll do a histogram plot of distances. And like I told you, the distance is actually got from parallax, right? So we can plot parallax. And here we will plot both. If you see here, I put the parallax for all. You see it's slightly off 0. But if I do it for the cluster, you can see that I'm clearly getting something which is slightly different, right? 1 minute, this is not looking very nice. So let's just spread it a little bit more. Okay, so you can actually plot this and get the plots for the cluster and this thing, right? We can also do this thing that you can actually see this. Let's see the stats, right? So you see for all the stats, you can see the parallax mean value is coming as 0.5. But if I take it specifically for the cluster stars, okay, there's some mistake. There's some problem in this which is coming. I don't know what is the problem, but I can actually see that if you actually take the cluster stars, you can see the cluster stars, you can see the parallax is about 0.53, right? And therefore you can see that all these stars have a similar parallactic distance, right? So if you see all the stars, I have about 11,000 of them. But the cluster ones which I've managed to get from this is only about 6,668. It'll obviously be different for you all when you all run it with your, with your data sets, depending upon how you mark your subset, right? So please try this exercise and please let me know on the chat, have you all managed to get it? So once you get the parallax like this, you can actually get the distance to the cluster. So the distance to the cluster is what? It is 1 upon parallax. But this parallax is in milliarc seconds. And therefore, if I want to know the distance to the cluster, I will have to take it as 1000 divided by that. So therefore, I can actually take it as 1000 divided by the mean value, which I have for the parallax, which is 0.53, right? So if you actually see it, it is approximately 0.53, right? So is everybody fine with this? I'll just, I'll use this thing to get 1000 divided by 0.53, right? So you'll get, if you take, let me say stop share and show you this thing, you can see that 1000 divided by 0.53, that was the mean parallax, gives us 1886. That means the distance to M4 comes out to be 1886. So what we have done is we have identified members of the cluster M4, and we have also found out the distance to M4, which is 1886, right? And is this clear to everyone? I hope this is clear. I will stop the share, and I'm just having a look at the chat window to see whether have you all managed to do this thing, or should I run through the steps again? Okay. So KD, yeah. So you can actually histograms. I'll show the histogram to you. TopCat also lets you do various things with the histogram, right? For example, here if you have this histogram, right? Let us just concentrate on the cluster, right? You can actually even TopCat lets you actually use the form, and you can actually add a Gaussian, right? So by Gaussian, what you want to do is we already have a histogram distribution of the thing, right? And we can actually use this to get the peak of the Gaussian, or to fit a Gaussian. So this is also one of the capabilities which is there of TopCat, right? So I'll just repeat it. If you do a Gaussian, sorry, you first of all plot parallax, right? Here's my parallax. Let me do it only for the cluster because I want to fit that to something. If you press on form, right, you can then click on plus forms and say add a Gaussian. So once it adds a Gaussian, here it's the Gaussian which has added, and you can actually see is that for the Gaussian it has added, it will actually give you the parameters.
Keeping a track of questions.
That means it tells you.
Histogram के ऊपर कोई पूछे.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this.
They ask you questions.
Okay, so it's giving me the histogram thing for this. I'll just have a look at the other questions which are there. Yeah, so Christian, you were asking me, right? That, okay. So Anushka was asking, I have a doubt. We had manually entered parallax value while downloading the table as 0.53. When did we put the value as 0.53? No. So Anushka, we took 0.53. Why? Is because when we already defined the table, what I did is I used the stats. If you remember, there's a stats option in the TopCat thing. So I clicked on stats and I looked for the cluster, what is the stats for parallax, right? And you can see that for parallax, the mean parallax is given as 0.53, right? And therefore I used that. If you like, you can also change it to, for example, median, right? And you can display the median. You say recalculate. And I can actually see that if you scroll from here, you can see the median value is 0.529, right? So depending upon what you like, you can either take the mean value or the median value. So that's why I took 0.53, right? I took 0.53 because that was the mean value of the parallax for my subset, which I called cluster, right? So the first subset, it's same thing, 0.539. For this one, it's 0.53. So once you've defined your cluster, we take the mean value of that, and that will be the mean value of the parallax. Now I want to find out the distance, so I will have to take 1000 divided by the parallax, because the parallax in Gaia is given in milli-arc seconds. So 1 upon 10 power minus 3 into 0.53. So 10 power minus 3 goes to the numerator, it becomes 1000 divided by 0.53. And that's why I took 0.53. Okay, Anushka? Christian is asking, yes, it's okay to ask how to interpret histogram plot. Yes, you can see my, okay, you all can't see my screen. Okay. 1 second, I'll just share that and show it to you. I'll share the screen. Let us look at the thing. Where is the histogram? I'll check it again. I hope you all can see my screen again. Here, I hope you all can see this. Here, I showed you the plot for parallax, right? And I'm showing you specifically for the cluster, right? Okay. So one way was I found out the mean by finding out the from the stats. The other way is I can fit the parallax to a Gaussian. So you can click on form and you do plus forms, and here you add a Gaussian, right? If I add a Gaussian comes up to this, right? I'm making the Gaussian come over here. I'll make a slightly thicker Gaussian, and I can make the color something else. So I'll make the color just to make it more, okay, we fitted it to that. So you can see this is the thing. And when I fitted this thing to a Gaussian, it's now telling me if I don't use that mean, I can use this mean, right? From the Gaussian, I'm getting the peak of it is coming to be 0.539, right? And this is what I can use to find out the distance value. So the distance value will be 1000 divided by 0.539, right? So that will give me the value which I have to use for this. I hope this is clear. Let me just check the chat window. Okay, Nimi, you can't find stats option. Look at your TopCat banner. I'll show it to you. This is your TopCat banner, and you see the sigma mark. The sigma mark is the one for stats. Okay. Yeah. So Kristen, yeah, thanks. This thing understood. Thank you. It's clear. So I hope you all managed to plot this this thing, right? Before going ahead, I'll just check, are there any more doubts or questions that people have? Are there any more doubts or questions that people have? Or should I proceed to the next one? Understood. Okay. So let me move on to the second one. The second, there are 5 things in the tutorial. If don't worry if you can't run it and you have a problem. Tomorrow I'll repeat these tutorial things. I'll continue with the tutorial. I will do 2 now. I will do cluster identification for high IDs, and then tomorrow we can do 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's now go to the next one. We are doing the next one, which is the clusterized. So actually, I can also show you this. If you see the plot over here, and you can actually get the plot for the RIDX, right? For the subset and the set. So you can see these are the clusters and the cluster members. Okay. Let us move ahead. And the second one, what we are going to do is we are going to look for high IDs, which is another cluster. Which is very close by a cluster, the closest cluster. And we are going to use what is called the Gaia tap service. So now go into VO, click on VO, and here instead you will click on table access protocol, the tap query. Okay. So I hope everybody's found this button. Click on VO and then click on table access protocol, the tap query. I hope everybody's with me. I'll click on this. And when you give tap this thing, now in the keywords, right? In the keywords or in find, you will write Gaia, right? And you will say Gaia, and these are the services. So these are using earlier data releases. We are going to look for Gaia EDR3, right? And therefore, let's look over here, and we'll go in for this, and we'll get this. And we'll say Gaia, and let's, why is this not coming? Is the table access protocol, select service. Sorry, so you'll do in the select service, and sorry, I made a mistake. Do select service. I'll just repeat it again. Go to VO, click on table access protocol, click on select service, right? And here you'll use the keywords Gaia, right? Find services. And in the find services, you'll see this one, which is the ARI, right? You can click this one. In principle, you can, even take other ones, right? So you can take the ARI one. This is the one which is put over here, right? And then we'll say use service. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you've got to collect the datas, right? So select the table, which is this Gaia EDR3, right? Click on Gaia EDR3 and get this, right? Okay. Okay. Now, I hope all of you all are with me. You all got this thing, right? And okay. Now you look at the columns and the table windows. Okay, so we'll take this and we'll clear this. Now over here, what you're going to do is when you're taking EDR3, take Gaia source. Okay, so scroll down and come to Gaia source, right? And here you'll see there is description of the table, description of the columns, right? Here are the columns, these are the table, right? Okay. Now, note that this thing, okay, right? Is everybody clear with this? Yeah, I will actually give this as homework to you all so that you all can try it out, right? We will talk about ADQL also later, but let us just now do this. Is everybody fine? Is everybody managing this thing? Okay. Now, okay, I'll just repeat this thing, source file. Okay. So I'm sorry if it's going fast or difficult, but we'll be continuing tomorrow. So don't worry, we will manage these things tomorrow too. You have to click on VO, right? So the first example which I showed you all was cone search. In cone search, what happens is you give the position of the object and you accordingly search for these, right? Now what we are going to do is we are going to use another protocol which is used in virtual observatory, which is called the TAP protocol, which is the table access protocol. So what happens in table access protocol is you can actually use the data and from the tables and query them, right? And that's what we are going to do in this one, right? I may not finish this tutorial today, right? I will show it to you completely tomorrow because I can see it's a little long. What you'll do is you click on VO, click on table access protocol, right? Now what you do is you do select service, right? In select service, write keyword Gaia, okay? And then you click on find services, okay? I hope you all do that. Click on find services. I hope everybody's done that. And then go on to this ARI Gaia. This is the data source at Heidelberg, okay? So we'll click on this, okay? And here in this thing, in this list, you'll find many things and you can here click on DR3 Gaia source, right? So please click on that. Click on DR3 Gaia source. You can look at the table column. This is the tables and you can look at the columns. These are the different column data which it can give you. You can select the one that you want and select the ones that you don't want, right? Okay. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. Now there's a window over here in which you all have to, you can't find the find window. Oh, Grace. Okay, I'll just look for the find window. Let's see it once again. Click on VO, click on table access, click on select service. Okay, then you say find services. I hope you found it. Yeah, then you say find services and then you'll come up to this, right? And then down you click here, use service, right? And here you can, this is the column description, right? This is the column description for the data. Okay. And then there is a certain text, a certain query. We are going to do table access protocol using a query. And you have to type out this thing, which is written over here. Select array deck. So what we are basically going to do is we are now select service is inactive. Which select service? 1 minute, let me just check it again. Go to VO, go to table access, go to, I hope you've finished all this. You managed all this. Gaia, you got this. And click on this and then come down here to Gaia EDR3 data source. Is this coming fine, Grace? Are you getting these? Are you getting these? No? No, okay. What I'll do is you can share your screen. Show us what is coming on your screen. And the others, if you all are progressing ahead, you can use the tutorial sheet to progress ahead. We will continue with it tomorrow. But in case there are people who are moving faster than us, you are most welcome to use the tutorial sheet and move ahead. Okay. So Grace, show me your screen. So this is TopCat file. Now press on VO. Press VO, which is there. No, no, VO, down. Near Windows you have VO, right? No, close this thing. Click somewhere else in the file. Close this. Yeah, get back to TopCat. No, I want TopCat. Yeah. Now you see the panel on top, right? Click on VO, correct. Click on VO and come down to table access protocol. Table access, yes. Very good. It should open. Are you sharing your whole screen or only the TopCat window? Because otherwise I can't see the screen. You share your whole screen. Yeah. Please share your whole screen. Your complete screen. Yeah. VO. Click on VO, which is in that panel. No, where you see files, views, graphics, joins. Huh? Now click on table access protocol. Yeah. Now when you said find select service, click select service. Yes, click that. Yeah. Now you say Gaia. You put Gaia and then you say submit query. You can submit query. What is the OS you're using on your system? What operating system are you using? Yes, Grace. Ubuntu. Okay, no problem. So we are actually running a little late now. So nothing to worry. We will be proceeding with this tutorial tomorrow. Okay. I will repeat tutorial 1 also. You already have the PDF files for all the tutorials. So that is the homework also to be done. So you all can start doing that. And tomorrow I will repeat that whole stuff so that, you would, in case there are people who are getting stuck or having a problem, they can run the whole thing, right? If we finish that, then we can do some other tutorial also. Otherwise, we'll do this tutorial, right? So I would request everybody to work on this tutorial today, right? And please send me questions on Slack, depending on if you're getting stuck or you're having a problem in anything. Please do send me questions on Slack. But otherwise, in case everything is running fine for you, then please run TC Tutor, the tutorial which is there, all the 5 steps, all the 5 different cases, and we will actually run them all tomorrow too, right? So I will stop over here And thank you everyone if you have found this helpful. I hope it's helpful. I'm not starting more because the problem is that then we will fall short of time. So tomorrow we will directly start off with the session on laptops itself, where we'll start again working with this thing. Where is PDF? It's everything on the Slack channel. Yeah, you'll get the recorded video, or we'll send you the link on Slack. Okay, we'll put it on our website and send it to you. Okay. So, Kristen, that's also very good. And in case any of you all have data of your own, which you would like us to analyze with TopCat, please share that data with me. And we can try running that also tomorrow in tomorrow's tutorial session. So we will continue with the tutorial which I showed you. And in case any of you all have your own data which you would like to run, please let me know and we can run that on your data set and plot things and see it, right? So I will stop over here, right? And please, I am free for snack. You want a snack? So do I. Okay. How to save the file? So to save the file, you go on to TopCat. Okay. I'll just show that to you. You go on to TopCat. In TopCat itself, there's file. I hope you all can see my screen. There's file and you say save table. So when you save table, you can write the format in which you want to save the table, right? So if you want to save the table in FITS format or in VO table format, or there are some other formats also, the CSV, ASCII format, whichever format you would like to save your table as, you can save it in that given format, right? Is that fine for everyone? Yeah. So that if you are closing your session, yeah, I should tell you all that if you're closing your session today, if you're going to close TopCat, then TopCat will not have the file that you downloaded today. And therefore, please save the table in whatever format you want, CSV, VO table, FITS, any format that you would like, but save it. Because once you close TopCat, the file that you were using today, that will be lost. Okay. So please note and save your files, right? Otherwise, we'll start from scratch tomorrow, right? On whatever files you have. Yeah, so format Femida can be anything you want. You can SN the Slack. That's on the Slack channel. It is the Slack channel. I hope you all you know what is Slack. Slack is an app you can download on your phone or you can download it on your laptop, right? And we have a Slack channel for our group. Okay, so I will just share the link to that Slack channel, and you all can join that Slack channel, right? So I will just share the Slack channel link with you all. So what you need to do is you install Slack on your on your thing. And this is the Slack channel. I'll just share it with you. 1 minute. Just a minute. I'll just share the link to the Slack channel on Zoom. Let me just find the post. Where is the post? Yeah. Oh, the registration is here. Okay. So if you've registered, then you would have had in your email, you would have had the link to the Slack channel. Okay. So please, if you've registered, you will have the link to the Slack channel. Okay. So what format do I suggest? Either do VO table or CSV. Those are the safest formats. Okay. SN, you need to install the Slack channel. You need to install Slack and you'll find the link in the email which you received as to how to join the Slack channel. Okay. And everything will be shared in the Slack channel. So please post all your doubts or questions as you're progressing through this tutorial. Whatever doubts or questions you have, please post it on that Slack channel, right? In case people have a problem with Slack and you prefer email or something, You can also email me at priya.hassan at gmail.com, right? In case you all have any other problems, you have a problem with Slack, you can email me and I will guide you as to how to go ahead, right? So please let me know what you would prefer, right? And I'll see you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock IST, and we will progress through this whole tutorial which we were talking about today, right? So I hope you all found this thing. Can this link to the Slack channel be resent? Yeah, it can be resent. I will just look for it. 1 minute, I will just try to. Oh God, I'll just, where's the link to the Slack channel? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Here. So here is the link to the Slack channel, okay? So if you just click on this link, it will install your Slack on your system and you will be able to work with everyone, okay? So I hope that's fine for everyone, yeah? And we meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the evening, and please send me your questions on Slack, right? So see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock, and we'll proceed with the tutorial. For people who are already comfortable with TopCat, please go through the PDF file for the tutorial and go ahead, right? Let me know if you have any doubts or questions. So thank you very much. We'll end over here and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Please put on chat if you have some questions which are urgent. Okay. So see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Yeah, we'll share the recording. Don't worry, we'll share the recording. We'll be sharing the recording. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.